I'm wearing a beanie today because my hair was not agreeing with me and I did not want to look ridiculous on the internet like I usually do. Since my last debate topic went much better than expected, you guys seem to really enjoy that video. I wanted to try doing another debate topic comparing the new Surface Book against the new MacBook Pro. And I'm going to be comparing the top of the line Surface Book against the top of the line 15-inch MacBook Pro. And I know what you're thinking, why not just compare the 13-inch MacBook Pro against the Surface Book? But the 13-inch MacBook Pro doesn't come with a dedicated GPU, and I really wanted to be able to match these up evenly with the same kind of hardware setup. The 2016 MacBook Pro has a 2880 by 1600 resolution screen. On the other hand, the brand new Surface Book has a 3000 by 2000 resolution screen. The Surface Book has a slightly larger resolution, but not much difference there. You're not really going to notice those few extra pixels. What you may notice is a slight extra clarity in the Surface Book, as it has a 226 ppi, whereas the MacBook only has a 220 ppi. Though unless you're staring hard at both screens trying to find the differences, I think either way both are going to be really great and you're not going to really notice much of a difference between either. Now both the Surface Book and the MacBook Pro use last generation Intel i7 processors. Now it's a bit disappointing that they didn't update their processors to new 7th generation versions, especially since there are laptops on the market already with the 7th gen processors, especially for the price you're paying. I mean, these are in like the $3,000 range. You really should have been given the latest generation tech, but they're still great processors. Now both the Surface Book and the MacBook Pro come with 16 gigs of RAM max. I'm going to assume that it's going to be DDR3 RAM, not the newest DDR4 RAM, but really you're not going to really notice much difference there. It's more about the quantity of RAM you have instead of the speed, so 16 gigs is going to do perfectly fine. The new Surface Book comes with a terabyte of storage, whereas the new MacBook Pro only gives you about 512 gigabytes of storage. For the price you're paying, you're getting double the value, so I'd say the Surface wins on this point. I completely forgot to mention battery life. So the MacBook Pro has a 10-hour estimated battery life, whereas the Surface Book has a 16-hour estimated battery life. Though, to be honest with you guys, Microsoft kind of isn't the best with calculating their battery life, as they did say that the Surface Pro 4 had a 10-hour battery life and it really has more of like a 5-hour battery life. So if it actually does have a 16-hour battery life, that is a 6-hour advantage, but we can't really trust Microsoft on this. Now let's talk about graphics cards. The new Surface Book comes with an NVIDIA 965M, whereas the new MacBook comes with the AMD 455. Both graphics cards are only going to give you 2 gigabytes of VRAM, and even though the AMD is from their newest series of graphics cards, the older 965M is still going to be about the same in performance. You're not going to see anything real different there. The 965M is more of a mid-tier graphics card, lower mid-tier, and then the AMD 550 is kind of lower end, it's not really up there. So even though it's the newest generation, it's still going to give you about the same as the older generation 965M. So if you wanted to game on the Surface Book, you definitely can using, mid to high settings. And I think the same could be said about the MacBook. Obviously, you're probably gonna have to side load Windows, but if you wanted to game, you could on both. Now let's get to the features that really distinguish both competitors. The 2016 MacBook Pro has that brand new touch bar that everybody's been talking about. This does give you an extra bit of functionality in certain applications, but it does have to be built into the application. Whereas the Surface Book is a complete touchscreen device. You can remove it from its keyboard and just use it as a complete tablet if you wanted to. And the Surface Pen gives you even more added functionality on top of the touchscreen, because now you can write on the screen, take notes. If you're an illustrator or a graphic designer, you can draw on the screen. Even if an application hasn't been built from the ground up to support touchscreen, you can still utilize the touchscreen for it. Whereas the touch bar wouldn't really give you any additional features unless the program specifically was designed to utilize it. But just to wrap it all up, I say the 2016 MacBook Pro and the 2016 Surface Book kind of match up evenly when it comes to hardware. Where they really differentiate is their implementation of touch functionality. The Surface Book offers complete touch functionality, but not every program is catered towards it. Whereas the MacBook offers limited touch functionality, but every program that utilizes it is perfectly crafted for that touch input. So if you're working creative professional, or maybe someone who just likes to doodle or edit some photos, things like that, the Surface Book is definitely the better device for you. Whereas the MacBook Pro with Mac OS is more of a streamlined experience, with the hardware and the software being developed side by side with each other to work perfectly in balance with one another. So for about $3,000, the Surface Book gives you more functionality, whereas the MacBook Pro gives you more simplicity and ease of use. Now I pass on the debate to you. Which one do you think is a better option, the MacBook Pro or the Surface Book? They both offer completely different experiences geared towards completely different people. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's so amazing to see how many people have been subscribing and commenting on my last video and all my previous videos. But I really appreciate everyone who's been subscribing. It means so much to me. It really does. Thank you so much for watching. But as always, stay sexy, and I'll see you sometime.